Welcome back to our channel on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon where the drama never sleeps and we are always awake to catch every single drop of it for you. Grab a coffee, or maybe something stronger, because what we have to discuss today is absolutely going to shatter your mind into a million little pieces, just like it did mine when I first heard the news. Hope Logan was finally getting her life together and settling into the House of Logan after that entire explosive runway disaster that left Forrester Creations completely in the dust and her mother Brooke screaming at Katie in the middle of the office. She was finally finding her footing and breathing her own air away from the suffocating grip of Steffi Forrester, who always made her feel like she was just taking up space and never truly respected her vision. You can just picture Hope sitting at her new sleek desk at Logan Designs, feeling the smooth wood under her fingertips and looking at the sketches Deke Sharp made for her, and just exhaling for the first time in what feels like decades. She built this and she took the leap and she signed the contract and she survived the dizzy spells and the panic attacks that came from betraying her mother and abandoning the Forrester legacy. She was safe. She was independent. She was finally just Hope. And then the door opens. It doesn't just open, it practically gets blown off its hinges by the sheer gravitational pull of the man walking through it, because Thomas Forrester is back in Los Angeles after a long, agonizing absence, and he is standing right in the middle of the Logan office, looking like a ghost who decided to haunt the exact place Hope thought she was safe. Just imagine the sheer psychological terror gripping Hope's chest in that exact second as she looks up from her fabric swatches and sees the man who has defined so much of her trauma and her passion standing there in a perfectly tailored suit. Her heart must have completely stopped beating in her chest. The dizziness she felt when Brooke ran off probably came rushing back tenfold, making the room spin and the walls of the Logan building close in on her until she could barely draw a breath. He is back. Thomas is actually back. Why now of all times, when she just got her life stabilized and she just moved into the Spencer mansion with Liam and Beth and she is finally trying to figure out who she is without the Forrester name attached to her brand? Thomas walking into that specific office is such a deliberate choice because he could have gone to Forrester Creations to see his father Ridge or his sister Steffi, but he didn't do that, did he? He walked straight into the enemy territory of House of Logan because he knew exactly where Hope would be, and he knew exactly how much it would rattle her to her very core to see him standing on her new turf. The audacity of this man is just staggering when you really sit down and think about it. He doesn't care about the fashion war. He cares about Hope. He always cares about Hope. Hope is just staring at him with her wide blue eyes, completely paralyzed in a state of sheer panic and utter confusion, because she cannot even begin to process the reality of his physical presence in her sanctuary. She thought she left the Forrester men behind when she walked out of that building and signed Katie's contract, but you can never really escape Thomas Forrester because he is woven into the very fabric of her history and her psyche. Her mind is probably racing 1,000,000 miles a minute, flashing back to the mannequins and the obsession and the pain and the weird, twisted love they shared that always left her feeling like she was drowning in his intensity. She is frozen. She can't speak. She can't move. She is just a deer in the headlights of Thomas's relentless gaze. Then he finally opens his mouth, and the words that come out are just so classically Thomas that you have to laugh to keep from screaming. He announces with absolute confidence that he has returned to Los Angeles to reclaim his rightful place in the fashion industry, which is just wild, considering the industry is currently tearing itself apart in a civil war between Logan and Forrester. He wants his throne back. He wants to design and create and dominate the runways just like he used to do before everything fell apart and he had to leave town. But he doesn't want to do it at Forrester Creations under Steffi's thumb. Oh no. The implication hanging in the air is that he wants to be exactly where Hope is, because where else would Thomas Forrester ever want to be? It is always about proximity to Hope. Always. But the fashion declaration isn't even the part that sends Hope into a complete psychological tailspin, because Thomas doesn't stop there. He takes a step closer to her desk, and his voice drops into that low, hypnotic register that he always uses when he wants to get inside her head. And he tells her that he wants to reconcile. He wants to fix what they broke. He wants her back. The sheer weight of that statement dropping into the quiet Logan office is enough to shatter the glass windows. He wants to reconcile with Hope right when she is finally trying to make her marriage with Liam work in the Spencer mansion, and right when she is trying to prove to the world that she doesn't need a Forrester to be successful. He is offering her the one thing she spent years running away from and occasionally running toward. Hope's psychological state in this moment cannot be overstated because she is literally fracturing right in front of our eyes. She just survived the trauma of her mother, Brooke, basically disowning her and looking at her like she was a traitor on live television. She is dealing with the immense pressure of being the face of a brand new fashion house funded by Bill Spencer, who expects nothing less than total global domination. And now Thomas is standing there offering her his heart and his talent and his chaotic, toxic, beautiful devotion all wrapped up in a designer suit. She wants to scream at him to get out and leave her alone, but there is always that tiny, dark part of Hope's soul that responds to Thomas's undivided attention. She hates it. She hates herself for it, but it is there. She can barely form a coherent sentence as she stammers and backs away from him, feeling the edge of the desk pressing into her spine as she tries to put physical distance between them. She tells him he can't be here and that he has to leave because Liam will find out and the press will find out and Steffi will lose her mind, but Thomas just smiles, that sad, knowing smile of his, because he knows he has already won just by being in the room. He has already planted the seed of doubt in her mind. He has already disrupted her perfect little safe Logan world just by breathing the same air as her. Hope is hyperventilating. She is clutching her chest and trying to remember all the reasons why she chose Liam and why she chose this new path. But all she can see is Thomas looking at her like she is the only woman on the planet. And speaking of Liam, we have to talk about the absolute nuclear explosion that happens when Liam Spencer finds out that Thomas Forrester is back in town and sniffing around his wife. Liam is already on high alert because he is living and working with Hope at the Spencer estate, and he is trying so hard to be the supportive, perfect husband who helps her through her dizzy spells and her stress. He is trying to be her rock. So when he walks into that Logan office or hears the news that Thomas was there, Liam's entire demeanor shifts from supportive husband to rabid protective watchdog in a fraction of a second. Liam hates Thomas with a fiery, burning passion that transcends logic and time. He hates him. Liam bursts onto the scene, and the conflict that erupts between him and Hope is so massive and so visceral that you can practically feel the heat radiating off the screen. Liam is pacing back and forth, waving his arms frantically and raising his voice because he cannot believe that Thomas is back, and he cannot believe that Hope even let him speak. He is demanding answers, and he is projecting all of his decades-old insecurities onto Hope right in this very moment. He doesn't trust Thomas's so-called change for a single second because Liam believes that Thomas is fundamentally broken and incapable of being anything other than an obsessed manipulator who wants to ruin Liam's life and steal his wife. Liam is practically foaming at the mouth. Hope is standing there watching her husband lose his absolute mind, and instead of feeling protected, she just feels incredibly suffocated. She is caught in the middle of these two men again. It is the exact same dynamic she has been trapped in since she was a teenager, and she thought she had finally broken free of it by leaving Forrester Creations and asserting her independence. But here is Liam yelling at her and dictating how she should feel and what she should do, and here is Thomas lingering in the shadows, offering her unconditional worship. Hope's brain is short-circuiting. She screams at Liam to stop treating her like a child who needs to be protected from the big bad wolf, because she is a grown woman who just launched a massive fashion empire and she can handle Thomas Forrester on her own. But Liam isn't listening to her because Liam never really listens to Hope when he gets into his Thomas-induced panic spirals. He insists that Thomas is dangerous and that he is using this fashion comeback as a Trojan horse to get back into Hope's bed and ruin their marriage. Liam demands that Hope ban Thomas from the Logan building and cut off all contact with him immediately. He is issuing ultimatums, just like Ridge issued ultimatums to Elektra, and just like Brooke issued ultimatums to Ridge. Everyone in this town loves a good ultimatum, but Hope hates being told what to do. The more Liam pushes her and demands that she shut Thomas out, the more Hope feels that rebellious spark igniting in her chest. Why should she let Liam control her professional life? The psychological turmoil inside Hope is just so rich and complex because she knows Liam is probably right about Thomas being a threat to their marriage, but she resents Liam for not trusting her to handle it. She feels like Liam is looking at her as a fragile little victim who is going to fall under Thomas's spell the second he flashes a sketch pad at her. And maybe she is terrified because she knows deep down that she might actually fall for it. That fear is what makes her lash out at Liam so aggressively. She is projecting her own internal terror onto her husband, turning the conflict into a massive screaming match about trust and control and independence, when it is really just about Hope being terrified of her own dark desires. It is messy. It is so incredibly human. Thomas, meanwhile, is probably just sitting somewhere, sipping an espresso and knowing exactly what kind of chaos he has unleashed in the Spencer marriage just by showing his face. He doesn't even have to do anything malicious. He doesn't have to scheme or manipulate or use mannequins anymore. He just has to exist. His mere existence is enough to make Liam self-destruct and push Hope right to the edge of a nervous breakdown. Thomas's declaration that he wants to reconcile wasn't a plea, it was a promise. He is going to wait her out. He knows that Liam's suffocating overprotectiveness will eventually drive Hope crazy, and when she runs, she is going to run right into Thomas's waiting arms. It is a psychological masterclass. Let's really dive deep into the specific moment Thomas spoke, because the tone of his voice is everything in a situation like this. When he said he wanted to reclaim his place in the fashion industry, he didn't say it with the frantic, manic energy he used to have back when he was scheming with his sister Steffi or hiding secrets about baby Beth. He said it with a grounded, terrifying calmness. A calmness that suggests he has spent months away from Los Angeles doing nothing but meditating on exactly how he is going to dismantle Hope's life piece by piece and put it back together with him at the center. Hope noticed that calmness. She felt it radiating off him like heat from a pavement in the middle of July. It made her skin prickle with a mixture of dread and undeniable electric anticipation. She hates that she noticed how broad his shoulders looked in that suit. She hates that her first instinct wasn't to scream for security, but to just stare at the sharp lines of his jaw. The psychological betrayal of her own body is what is truly sending Hope into a spiral of panic. And Liam knows it too. Liam Spencer might be a lot of things, and he might have a history of waffling between Hope and Steffi that could fill an entire encyclopedia, but he is not blind when it comes to Thomas Forrester. Liam can smell the shift in the wind. When Liam confronts Hope in that office, he is not just yelling because Thomas is a bad guy. He is yelling because he looks into his wife's eyes and he doesn't see the absolute disgust that he wants to see. He sees confusion. He sees turmoil. He sees that Thomas still has a hook buried deep in Hope's heart, and Liam is terrified that he doesn't have the tools to pull it out. Liam's frantic pacing and his loud demands are just a smokescreen for his own profound insecurity. He knows he lost Hope once to Thomas's dark allure, and he is paralyzed by the fear that it is happening all over again right under his nose in his own father's building. Hope tries to rationalize it to herself. She tries to tell her brain that Thomas is just a designer and that House of Logan could actually use a brilliant mind like his, now that Eric Forrester is furious with Donna, and the whole Forrester Creations dynamic is imploding. She actually catches herself for a split second thinking about the business benefits of Thomas joining Logan before she snaps back to reality and feels sick to her stomach. How could she even entertain the thought? This is the man who kept her baby from her. This is the man who kissed a mannequin that looked exactly like her. But he is also the man who created the most beautiful gown she ever wore and who looked at her like she was a goddess descended from Olympus. The duality of Thomas Forrester is tearing Hope's mind perfectly in half. She is standing in the middle of the room, clutching her temples as the dizziness threatens to knock her completely unconscious. The fight with Liam escalates until they are both just screaming past each other, not even hearing the words anymore. Liam is bringing up the past, throwing every single one of Thomas's sins in Hope's face like she somehow forgot what she lived through. He is yelling that Thomas is insane and a psychopath, and his voice is echoing off the sleek glass walls of the Logan fashion house. And Hope just screams back that she knows, and she was there, and he needs to stop treating her like she is stupid. It is a brutal, agonizing display of a marriage cracking under the weight of external pressure and internal doubt. Hope feels a tear slip down her cheek, not because she is sad, but because she is so incredibly angry. She is angry at Thomas for coming back. She is angry at Liam for not trusting her. But most of all, she is angry at herself for not being strong enough to just laugh in Thomas's face and walk away. Hope is left to pick up the pieces of her fractured psyche while Liam storms out of the office to probably go complain to Bill or Wyatt about how unfair his life is. Hope is alone in the room, and the silence is deafening. She looks at the chair where Thomas was just standing, and she can almost still see him there. The ghost of his presence is heavier than the actual physical reality of her husband. She walks over to the window and looks down at the busy LA streets, feeling that terrifying dizzy spell wash over her again. She told Liam it was just stress from Brooke running off in the Forrester War, but she knows deep down it is more than that. It is the physical manifestation of her soul being ripped in two different directions. She is a Logan woman, and Logan women are notoriously drawn to complicated, dangerous men who offer them the kind of all-consuming passion that safe guys like Liam can never truly provide. She remembers the way Thomas's eyes looked. They weren't manic. They were clear. They were focused. When he said he wanted to reconcile, he didn't sound desperate. He sounded certain. That certainty is what terrifies Hope the most because she is so desperately uncertain about everything in her life right now. She is uncertain about her mother. She is uncertain about her brand. She is uncertain about her marriage. Thomas's absolute unwavering certainty in his love for her is like a lighthouse in the middle of a raging hurricane. And even though she knows the lighthouse is built on a jagged reef of toxic history, she cannot help but want to steer her ship toward the light. It is a fatal attraction. It is a psychological inevitability. And Liam is only accelerating the process by acting like a warden instead of a partner. If Liam had just held her and told her that they would face Thomas together, maybe Hope would feel secure. But Liam's immediate reaction was to attack her judgment and issue demands. He is pushing her away with both hands while screaming at her to stay close. The tragic irony of Liam Spencer is that his desperate attempts to hold on to Hope are exactly what always drives her into the arms of another man. He is doing it again. He is writing the script of his own heartbreak, and he doesn't even realize it. Hope is watching him self-destruct, and she feels a cold, detached numbness spreading through her chest. She is so tired. She is just so incredibly tired of managing Liam's fragile ego while trying to navigate her own massive emotional trauma. So where does she go from here? Does she lean into the House of Logan work and try to bury herself in fabric and marketing strategies? Does she secretly meet with Thomas just to see if his sketches are really that good? You know, she is going to look at the sketches. She won't be able to help herself. Hope Logan is a creative soul, and Thomas Forrester is her dark muse. They created magic together on the runway, and no amount of moral outrage from Liam is going to erase the fact that Thomas understands Hope's creative vision better than anyone else on the planet. The collision of their professional ambition and their toxic romantic history is going to create a supernova that will blind everyone in Los Angeles. This isn't just a love triangle anymore. This is a battle for Hope's very identity. Who is she? Is she the good, safe Spencer wife? Or is she the bold, dangerous, independent woman who dances with the devil because he knows all her favorite songs?